Hello, both of you. How are you? Welcome to another episode of the DevRel Roundtable. Wow, that sounded like a game show. I'm so ready for this. So, to kick this off, would both of you maybe introduce yourselves? And starting with Lucy, please.
Okay, hey, so I'm Lucy. I'm working as a DevEx engineer at Prismic.io. So it's a SaaS editing and headless CMSs. And I started like a years ago, and since then I'm building a team with a colleague of mine, and we are growing our team as a DevEx engineers team.
Awesome. And Debbie.
So I am Debbie. I am head of learning and developer advocate at Nuxt. And my job is to Nuxtify the world. Basically, make sure every person on this planet knows about Nuxt and uses it and loves it just as much as me.
And you know what? That's working. Because both Lucy and I are using Nuxt basically for everything.
That's good.
So,
yeah, one thing I didn't mention is that I'm working at Prismic as a DevEx engineer, but as a Nuxt.js DevEx engineer. So, and so
that's actually, you just gave me an idea for a question, because I've seen this also at Netlify, that some people are splitting off a bit and scoping their DevRel, right? You have Nuxt people or Vue people and React people. Are you guys doing the same, or how does that work?
At Prismic?
Yeah, for example.
Yeah, okay, basically, when I joined Prismic, there was no DevEx team, and I think it was the same for you, Debbie, when you joined Nuxt. And so, I started building the team on my own, working with my colleague Noah, which is more of a marketer profile. And since then, I was handling mainly Nuxt, but also doing a bit of Next.js and Gatsby to help support the whole community on my own, even if I'm not too much of a React person. But anyway, and since then, we actually just hired someone, and that joined us this week, and this person is currently working on Next.js, part of the DevEx side of Prismic. And so this is quite a relief for me, because I can now focus fully on Nuxt, and also this will basically, as we say, he's my other half, but for React now.
That's interesting. So this is starting to happen, because I am actually starting a DevRel position myself in a week. And my new boss just asked me, hey, can you speak at a Gatsby conf? I'm like, yeah, but maybe I should use Gatsby for a second before I start.
Maybe you
and
should.
So that's interesting. Maybe I should try a starter kit with React for a sec. In the end, it's all JavaScript, right? So I wanted to start with a question that's a little bit maybe complex. I'm not sure. Let's see what you guys, this one is for Debbie. So around developers in our community, I've sometimes heard somebody say something awful, you become a DevRel if you're not really a developer, or if you cannot cut it as a developer. Honestly, I think that's totally untrue. It's ridiculous. But Debbie, do you feel like there might be some truth in that? Or it's sometimes people say you teach if you cannot cut it in the business world, these kind of ridiculous things. How do you feel about that? And might there be some truth to it sometimes, or?
I personally haven't heard it, right? But let me put it in a way of Taekwondo, because you all know I love Taekwondo, right?
Oh, yes.
So in Taekwondo, you obviously practice Taekwondo, you get to a certain degree, and then you're able to be a teacher, you're able to internationally teach, and you're obviously not a master, but you kind of have mastered Taekwondo enough to be able to teach it, right? So it all depends on what you do as a role. So when I was a Taekwondo instructor or teacher, I was teaching so much that I wasn't practicing. So I could basically help anyone break a board of timber, any age, any person, I could help them break it. But then when I went to break it, I couldn't break it because I wasn't practicing. So you can have that mindfulness that you know what someone needs to do. And then if you don't practice it yourself, but I think that's on you. So if you're a developer in DevRel and you're not practicing your code, then yes, you might get to that stage. But it really is up to you to make sure. And what do we do in DevRel? We do a lot of demos, we do a lot of workshops, we do a lot of stuff. So it depends on how far you go, how deep you go. I think that's up to the developer themselves.
Oh, yes. You just saved that question. Because it could also be yes, no, I didn't experience that. But you know what? That's exactly true. Because I've been in a manager position lately. And I think in 2020 for work, I didn't code. And I'm still a developer, which is weird, right? So you kind of sometimes miss this. But anyways, on to the next. So, Lucy, you are I think you're still at school, right? But you're also finishing. And
I think you have to explain what school is, right? Because poor Lucy, people are going to think like, she's in like high school, like, right? So what is school, right?
First of all, okay, Lucy, here we go. 2-part question. Explain the school you're going to and why it's so cool that you are there, because I know it's an awesome school. And then why did you choose a DevRel related job straight out of school without doing anything else? So the question is also like, is this now such a cool job role that it just inspires people to go into straight out of school? So why and how? So first go with the school part.
You're putting me on a dangerous part here, but
Probably.
Okay. We'll see. So my school is like not like it's like college, but like it's not like it's private college, like it's a thing that we have in France at least. And basically, like it's like I'm working toward like having a master degree in computer sciences, but in a private school setup. So kind of like college, but like more like shape, let's say. And that's like the global thing. So here I was learning like development, of course, but I also had a bunch of like marketing and design lessons, and that I didn't like or that I liked a bit. Like depends on the topic, but anyway, like that's like the general idea of the school. So you get to learn marketing, design, and also development, but you also get to work in companies a lot. So hence, like I already like have like almost like 2 years of work experience behind me. So I worked for 6 months at Société Générale, which is like an international banking company, and also worked in multiple agencies, and also worked as a CIO on a student-funded companies, so that was like that gave me still quite some experience, like given my age, let's say. And I don't think that in my school, like being getting out of school as a DevX engineer person, like is something common yet, at least. But that was a topic that I was interested in, because like when I was working in company, I often found myself like doing work in order to help other developers around me, like building like documentation or like refactoring like a bunch of utilities into packages in order for people like to have a consistent way of using them through the whole software spectrum of the company. And so like I wanted like to work in a field like where I can like work toward helping other developers rather than building applications for clients, let's say. And that's how I ended up at Prismic, and I'm really blessed that Prismic accepted me as a really like juniorish DevX engineer, and since then I'm working here.
You know what I love? The fact that before we discussed that DevRel is more for like senior-ish people. And now you're completely destroying that notion because you're doing it so well. And you know what's also fun is that you say, I'm helping other developers. But
and she really is. She really is. It's like it's incredible
it's true.
What she does. It's like
it's almost hard to believe, because here comes the train of how awesome you are. But when we talked and you helped me on Next stuff, right? I was like, I'm gonna hire this lady. I'm gonna put her in a senior position. But back then I didn't know you were just out of school or still in school. It's like,
because you talk on Twitter, right? And you don't know what people's age are, what they're doing. You just like
this is the beauty of Twitter, isn't it? And so you are extremely talented, and therefore I think this is a great position for you to be able to really go deep in code, help others, and then also help this Prismic, this idea of a headless CMS, because there's help needed there. So that's cool. So is there any particular reason why you chose this, or is it just the coolest thing that came on your path and you just went for it?
I'd say that I didn't see myself like working full-time as a developer on a product team and things like that, because I don't have much experience in it. Well, I have some, but not like years of experience in it. But like I was feeling like that I will get bored doing that, and that I wouldn't enjoy like being a developer overall. And hence, like I found this position, and like that's like I'm blessed about it, and I'm really happy. Like, it is.
That's a good word, because if you compare your path into tech with Debbie's and mine, that is like the most opposite it can get. I think Debbie, you've been a teacher, a taekwondo person,
an entertainer,
all over the place.
Everything, yeah.
So same with me, like I was a guitarist, I was a nurse. It's like anything goes, right? You go into tech and you're good.
Yeah,
So
maybe I will end up being a taekwondo teacher.
you know
Why
what?
not?
I might want to just hit some wood and see if I can do something there. It might be cool though, right? Anyway, so Debbie, you are also head of learning, right? And so that gives a slightly wider scope to this job. So what do you know about the different roles within DevRel? Like, are you doing it differently than someone, let's say, at Netlify or maybe Lucy? What do you know about this and what is your style?
I'm sure I am, because I mean, does anyone really know what people are doing in their DevRel jobs? In the sense of like, I don't know what Netlify is doing. I don't
hence
know
the
what
question.
Prismic is doing. I
Yeah.
don't know. You know, everyone's doing things different. And I mean, remember that I got hired for this position in the conference scene with a whole prospect of what I was going to be doing, completely having to change. And all of a sudden your role is now like, oh yeah, you're not going to be traveling anywhere. So forget the conference scene, which you still do talks, but it's a half-hour talk as opposed to a 3-day event, right? So your whole role changes and you have to reinvent it. And nobody was ready for that. So every DevRel out there has had to actually just change the way they do things to try and figure it out. And I don't think anyone has it right. And I don't think anyone has it wrong. I think we're just all different. We all do it different styles, different ways. And we're just trying to like reach the community, help the community and you know, get the product better known and help that people come on board easier. And yeah, how you do it is up to you.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting because I'm supposed to do this job soon and I've never done it. I just see you guys do it well.
Yeah, but you've
I
already
think.
been speaking at conferences, right? You've already been almost doing it, just not doing it. And you know, you're already like your YouTube channel has amazing content. So you've already been creating that content. Now they're just paying you. That's all. That's the only difference.
I might just, this is true.
Yeah,
I might just
you're already
focus
enough to
on,
do it.
yeah, so maybe I focus on that area and then see where it brings me. Because I might go into code way more or I just stay at content creation. We shall see. So, Lucy, for you, what for you are the challenges on your job in the scope of DevRel? Because there must be some, I just don't know which. And I need to know because I'm going to do this soon.
Oh, wow.
Well, if you don't have any, that's fine too. But
no,
it can also be more general, right?
There's definitely a lot of changes. I think like, well, I'm quite passionate about like what I'm doing. And one of the challenges I'm facing is mitigating like frustration of not being able like to satisfy everyone. As for example, like I like to skim GitHub and like look through all of what's going on in GitHub and things like that. And so I see like a lot of issues that users are reporting to us and things like that. And while we have some bandwidth to manage some, like we don't have some bandwidth to manage everything instantaneously. And so like that's some kind of reason. Like I'm sad to tell a user like, oh, like maybe you should like wait like a week or two so we have some like so we will fix that because like but I'd like to fix it now, like, you know. And like
it's like me tweeting at you, please help, and you always do. So I might be one of the luckier ones, but I can imagine if it's getting busy, you just need more people maybe.
Yeah, so yeah, like that's mainly like mitigating frustration for like not being able like to give like the nicest support to everyone. And well, that's I'd say my biggest pet peeve.
DevRel is actually a pretty young job. I'm thinking Chris Heilman might have been the first a couple of years ago, but now it's more and more people. But I'm thinking about the career path of a developer relations person, right? So what could be a career path? How would you go to the next level? What is the next level? I think you just do the same thing, but more. Or like when you are a developer, you can be junior, senior, principal, blah, 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 on and on. How does that work with a DevRel? So what's your opinion there, Lucy?
Oh,
is there anything like because you've just started, you might not have thought about it, but for me, I'm coming from this conservative career, not conservative, but like how it used to be. I started as a junior, I went senior, and then I changed companies. I was a principal, then I became manager, and then a director. And when I was about to become a global director, I just quit, and now I'm going that way. But that path I'm not going to take with a DevRel, I think, because how is that structured? How do you guys see this kind of structure? That might be an easier way to ask the question. And there might not be.
I'll go first if you want, Lucy. I'll go first.
Yes.
I don't think there's an actual set out path, because like you said, this job kind of didn't really exist, like, 4 years ago, for example. And now because of the world, the way the world is as well, things have changed a lot even more. And we've seen how important DevRel is. And I mean, every company, like Prismic is a small company, right? And they have like DevRel, right? So every single small company is taking on these roles because it's necessary, because the only way that we can have relationships between developers is through these DevRels and through these kind of things, because we're not in the conference scene anymore. We don't have developers coming up to us at a booth and chatting, and we're able to show off our products. So we rely on these people. Yeah. In the future, I don't know, when we can go out of the world and like actually be normal again, will the DevRel job change a little? And possibly it will. And only time will tell. But I think it's up to the person. Like, I think there's always a lot of different ways you can go, and you could decide, you know what, I want to go more into client kind of area and be more like a, solutions architect kind of type role. So there's always ways you can go. You just have to decide where you want and what you want to do.
Yeah. And you know what the beauty is here? We can make that choice ourselves because it's such an open field. There's nobody telling you, hey, but you're just an integrator of jQuery, so you will never go to Vue. Like that used to be the case in France, those kind of jobs, but we can just pave our own path. Right. So, Lucie, do you know which direction you want to go, or you're just starting and just let's run with it?
Yeah, first, like I will finish my studies and graduate. But that's actually like funny, because like that was a question that I got asked when I did like my report of my first few months at Prismic, and like I didn't really know like what to answer about. Like maybe like most likely I will stay in the DevX field, but like. Perhaps not at Prismic, perhaps at Prismic, I don't know yet. And I feel like that perhaps like as the DevX team grow at Prismic, like there will be some kind of like, just like in a regular like developer team, like some kind of like juniorish DevRel and seniorish DevRel that can help each other in different way. And well, if like being a manager is something that you're interested in, I think that's definitely something possible out of working in DevRel. Like, that's not something I'm interested in right now to some extent. And and as you said also, like, I think that being a developer gives you like quite a lot of liberty toward like where you want to evolve in a company, especially now that we have like DevRel, DevX, and product team and all kind of stuff. So yeah, like if maybe like one day I want to get back to a project like that, that's something I'm able to do.
Yeah, the freedom is cool, right? So what if there's someone who is either not in tech at all or is a developer but wants to change? Debbie, do you have any tips for someone who wants to become a DevRel? And I secretly want those tips as well, because I'm going to do that soon.
I think, like, if you want to be in DevRel, you really need to be in the community, and like, you don't need the job to actually start doing it. So, I mean, you could just start very simple by creating blog posts, by speaking at conferences. Yeah. I mean, I got my job because I was already doing the job. I was already like advocating for Nuxt way before I actually became part of the team. And I was doing it because I love doing it. And if you love something, find the product you love and go and advocate for it. Create those blog posts, write those talks, do podcasts, do whatever you can. It's not always easy. I know you have to be accepted to speak at conferences. But right now, anyone can create a YouTube channel, right? So you have a lot of freedom, and people can do anything. So just go and make yourself known, make people know who you are. Because if you're out there, if you're online, people will find you. If you're just stuck in your room and don't, try and make those relations, then nobody will know you exist. And yeah.
Yeah, so it's personal branding on top of that too. So with that bombshell and these wise words, we'll hereby finish our discussion. I really want to thank both of you for taking the time out of your busy days as DevRels to talk to me. Thanks so much. I'm going to edit this down and see what happens. Cheers.